I'm back. Yep, I'm doing YouTube again. I'm making this video, and who knows when the next one will be out. But in this video, I'm going to be doing another round of random Minecraft builds. So I'm going to be spinning a wheel and getting a random build, spinning again and getting a random theme. Basically, I just put those together, get like a fantasy lighthouse, and I build a fantasy lighthouse. So yeah, it's pretty simple. I'll let myself from the past build and myself from the now explain what I'm building and why I'm building it. Enjoy the video. For my first build, I spun the wheel, of course, and I got for the build the base I did in the Super Nerd SMP, basically a big temple, and the Deep Dark as a theme. So I started by looking for a cave big enough for the structure, and what I did find was a lush cave, which I just filled with skulk using the catalyst and some zombies. Then I started building out the base of the structure using deep slate as opposed to the cobblestone of the original, just because I thought it would be more interesting and fit the Deep Dark as a theme. The original had black stone frames around the doorway, so I decided to do those, and I decided on skulk as I thought it would look the nicest and fit the theme as well. And now adding the trim, I decided to go with skulk once again. So I've completed the basic shell, but I decided to add the ruin that the original one had, so I'm using a variety of deep slate blocks to get that same effect. Now adding in some sea lanterns to act as like organic light sources from the skulk, just because I thought they really fit the color scheme of the skulk and looked like the little dots on the texture of the skulk veins and skulk itself. I needed a way up and down, of course, so I built an elevator that would allow me to get from the top, the surface, to the bottom and the base. Just a simple water elevator. Now I'm adding a bridge with soul lanterns. Overall, I think this was a great variation on the original build, and the Super Nerd SMP as a whole was really fun for me, but it's time for me to show you the final build. Please ignore me struggling to get out of the water elevator, and here is the final build. I'm really happy with all of the light sources, and it just makes the build pop in my opinion. I think the color scheme is great. It's obviously the Deep Dark color scheme because of the theme. It looks definitely a lot like the original Super Nerd SMP base. I didn't bother trying to create an interior just because I knew that this was a one-off build and I wasn't going to be using it, and it would take too long. And I also included the Zen Garden up top with a Skulk Shrieker in the middle and the gates and the gym. I'm quite pleased with the design of the build and happy I got to do it first because it was one of the ones I was most looking forward to getting the chance to spin. For the next build, I spun and got a small village as suggested by FlyBy_64potato in the last video, and the ocean theme, so I started working on an ocean village. My block palette I used was a combination of endstone bricks and types of prismarine. I used those to create a small hut that I would base the rest of the huts on. I gave each house a domed roof. Each house got a specific kind of coral that would distinguish them, and also black windows and a warped door. After building the first house, I would go on to make the other houses after making a walkway for this house up to the door. And I also added soul lanterns because I thought they were a very nice addition to the color scheme and also added some light. After making the second house based off the first house, I decided to add some coral to decorate up the village and add some spice and life. I started work on a new building. This one would be a building that is a lot larger to add interest, and also sort of a place that the village's peoples could go and gather if they wanted to, which was kind of my idea behind why it would be so big and why it would be needed in the village. I made the base larger, almost like a pillager outpost, and started building up a cylindrical body. Adding a larger version of the decorative coral that had been on all the houses before. Adding a roof. Making it domed the same way the other ones were. And then I added more coral and a third house. Decorating the inside of the houses using sea pickles and coral. And building another house here. I was also building a variety of rocks made out of stone and moss, and also some more coral. I would also add kelp. Now every village needs people, so I added axolotls and gave them names, including Archie, Choco, Sally, Chunk, Tara, and Will. For some final touches, I added some sea lanterns on some pillars just to add some more lighting, as well as a water fountain that you can see in the middle. And here's the final build. I think this was a great use of the small village prompt, and I think the block palette and the aesthetics of the entire build really came together in a nice, pleasing way. All that's basically saying is that I really liked the way this build turned out. Apparently, the axolotl's favorite pastime is swimming into the window. Everything from the paths to the lights, I think all unify this build in a very nice way, and I think the path itself is a great way to bring the build together. And the water fountain is a really nice touch, in my opinion. I would love to hear your opinions on the 3 builds in total, including this one. This might be one of my favorite builds from the series. For the third and final build of the video, I had the prompts of building a greenhouse and a space theme. So basically I set up an end portal, went to the end, quickly got rid of the ender dragon, and began working on a greenhouse in space. Well, it's in the end, but it's the closest thing we have in Minecraft to space, so I don't think many people are going to care. I use the classic futuristic sci-fi block color palette of Minecraft, being cyan, terracotta, and quartz to create the build. One thing that can really improve your builds is adding depth, so using glass panes, stairs in the walls, and pillars on the outside of the walls would really benefit buildings. And I think this is a great example of those elements at work. And then I started making a doorway for the entire build. The idea was that this was some sort of sci-fi colony that had established a greenhouse to grow some plants out in space, adding in some smooth stone flooring. I made part of the build go higher than the other just to make it a more varied build, because variation is one thing that can really elevate your builds as well as depth. Up until now, it's really just been a building, so I decided to start adding in some plants using some grass, using some warp doors on the outside of the grass to keep it contained. And of course, we actually have to put plants on top of the grass, so that is what I'm doing in this clip. There is a great technique of connecting end rods with levers facing the end rods on the ceiling to create some cool light fixtures, which I of course used in the build. And here is that final build. The space greenhouse. This doorway, I tried to have some redstone in it, but eventually just settled on some iron doors. The pillars, I think, created a nice effect on the outside, really giving a lot of depth, especially with the windows and how I designed those with stairs and the glass panes. Ignore me trying to struggle through the doors. Iron doors are not fun all the time. Like here is the inside with plants. These have not grown yet, but you see some carrots, some potatoes, and some wheat. I think the end rods are a great element to add onto the build. This may not be the most complex build, but it is pretty cool, and I do like the way it turned out. The Minecraft YouTuber Mumbo Jumbo was a huge inspiration for the build, as his Hermitcraft Season 6 base looked a lot like what this one turned out being, in terms of the color palette and the block palette. And now, here's the 3 final builds all together. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please like and subscribe. It helps a lot. And have yourselves a fantastic day. But before you go, if you had any ideas of a theme or build that I could do in the future and add it onto the wheel, then go ahead and leave that in a comment. That would be greatly appreciated. And have yourselves a fantastic day. I've been the Crafty Sea Pickle. You've been amazing, and goodbye.